Welcome to our episode about the Jerusalem pine. Today is a day where I have begun the day by making mistakes. How about you?
Well, you cannot. I told you a few times by now that you cannot make a mistake fundamentally, so it's fine. Me too. I'm
Yeah,
making mistakes every day.
yeah. But I sent Mark Stevens, the train guy, a text that I was supposed to send to someone else. And it says, I'm eating slightly burned Danish with chocolate ice cream. And then there's a picture of a chair in front of a television. So I'm pretty sure that Mark, our train expert and bridge guy, is wondering, why is she sending this to me? But just a note to our listeners, Mark Stevens notified me last night that he does live in a small town outside of Detroit, Michigan, but they had a huge storm come through there and it blew out all the power. So he has very limited phone electricity on his phone, and he will be postponing our episode on the Blue Water Bridge. But, well, I don't even know what to say after all that.
It seems like you're trying to apologize. Also,
I'm apologizing to myself. I should have looked at who I was sending it to when I hit the send button. And then I looked at the top of the screen and it said Mark Train. So I have Mark Stevens, the second, listed as phone contact instead of Mark Stevens the second, which is his official name. I just have him listed as Mark Train. But I realized the other day that kind of looks like Mark Twain, Twain. But I like that.
Well, the thing with technology is you have to be careful, because with all these messengers, it's easy to confuse one name with another and send the message to not the person you were intended to.
Alejandro Jesus Puente, I confused with Mark Train.
You confuse the windows, because you type the text, you don't usually see who this window attributed to, and then if you talk to similar people at once, it's easy to send one person the message instead of another. I've done that a few times. I thought it's very, very dangerous if something sensitive is involved.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even talking to anyone. It's 5:30 in the morning in Dallas. Everyone's asleep. I'm pretty sure Mark Train is asleep, and Alex is asleep. All of Dallas is asleep. Only I'm awake making foolish mistakes, which brings us to our episode about the Jerusalem pine. I have heard it called the Aleppo pine.
Oh no, I've never heard that.
Why did you start thinking about it the other day?
I like the name. The Jerusalem pine sounds majestic.
You were just sitting at your desk and you thought, I like the name Jerusalem pine.
No, I was driving. I was at the wheel. I thought, isn't that Jerusalem pine? Isn't it like the great, what's that called, a poetic line to call something Jerusalem pine? Yeah, because the tree is the usual. We have lots of them here, very much the same in Russia. I don't know if it's the same species or not, but yeah, they look very much the same. But if you say Russian pine, it sounds ordinary. But you say Jerusalem pine, that sounds something.
Well, you know, yeah. There's, yeah. I think that I should write a poem about that, and you should write a song about the something that has the Jerusalem pine in it. What do you think about that as an idea?
I don't know, how can you write a poem about scraggy, skinny, and needly, and whatever?
It's not
tree.
That is okay. That is. It's not a description. It's the sound Jerusalem pine, and then it can rhyme with mine and thine, and it can be about like going up the little mountains and transcendent experiences in life.
Not mountains,
you-
forests then, because they have a whole forest here. I'm sure they have a whole forest down there in Jerusalem too, full of these trees.
well,
Oh,
I've seen them
mountains, yes.
I've seen them in Turkey, and I've also seen them in Italy. They are Mediterranean. This is just my experience. They are Mediterranean, like the olive tree. And the Bible is full of all these references to the pine and the olive. And I don't know. I want to write a poem about that. I am going to write a poem about that.
Yeah,
And
you should mention the Aleppo pine too, because you said it's the same thing, right?
well, I looked up online because you were mentioning something about the Jerusalem pine, and I just looked it up, and it said, AKA, also known as the Aleppo pine. And then I like
Aleppo is in
Aleppo.
Syria.
Yes, but it's also the Syria, Aleppo, and Gaziantep, which is an eastern town in. This is such a great story. I hope you're listening. Gaziantep, Ghazi means warrior. So Gaziantep is where my former husband's father was from, Gaziantep, and then he moved into Ankara. But Gaziantep and Aleppo are all on the same trade route, thousands and thousands of years old. So the Aleppo pine is actually called the Pinus halepenus. No, not penis. Excuse me, I said the word penis. That was funny. Pinus halepensis is the name of it. It's called the Aleppo pine, also known as the Jerusalem pine. It is a pine native to the Mediterranean region. And also, there is a part of Turkey that's in the eastern part of Turkey where they have this very, very, very famous ice cream. And it is made only from 5 ingredients. So if you're at a really swanky ice cream shop in Istanbul or Ankara, like something like the Champs-Élysées in Paris, or like some super luxe store, it's called Maraş Dondurması. So dondurma means ice cream, and Maraş is a shorter name of Kahramanmaraş. So, like Kahraman, Maraş, it's located in the southern, southeast part of Turkey on the slopes of these mountains. And by mountains, I just mean these kind of craggy rocks. They're not like super high mountains. But the ice cream is made from mastic, which is the resin of the pine. It drips out of the tree. Salep, which is a type of flour, goat's milk, sugar, and cinnamon. So the pure Maraş ice cream that's served in the most expensive shops of Istanbul and Ankara, it comes from this region down in, Aleppo, Gaziantep, Kahramanmaraş. And I didn't even know that I had stored that information in my memory. And sometimes when we talk about things, I feel kind of overwhelmed by there's like so much stuff to retrieve in my brain.
Well, thanks for sharing. And now we're taking another call from our listener, Ian. Now, just imagine for a second that I'm a radio host and stuff. You said resin. I recall how I told you the other day that I love that resin sand they have. The pines.
Yeah.
If you're in a pine forest, there is a sand. I couldn't describe it. I couldn't find a word. Maybe it's not resin, but to me it is.
Yeah. It's very popular. Like when you go to a perfumery and they ask you what notes you like when you drink. Some people like vodka, some people like bourbon, some people like rum. When you go to buy perfume or scents or cologne, at some of the real swanky shops, they ask you what's in your scent profile. And I like cedar, and I like sandalwood, and I like this perfume by Fendi, but you said you like the way it smells. So I think some of the perfumeries for perfume people, some of them, well, right outside of Paris, there are some places that have these huge rose farms that have, acres and acres of roses that are crushed for little tiny drops of rose oil to go into perfume that smells like roses. But this resin that comes from these trees, they actually use it in different colognes and perfumes. But I had forgotten it's also gathered and used in to make this ice cream, which has a slight. I've had it before. It has a slight cedar taste to it. It sounds weird, but it's so good, especially if it's in a really pretty glass and it's a place where you can sit in a cafe and watch people.
Okay, have you ever been to Jerusalem? Because you've been to Turkey, you traveled all over the Middle East. I thought maybe you've come across.
No, I haven't, but a lot of people from the United States, especially from my parish, they go on these kind of pilgrimage. And one of the last pilgrimages that they made was to Moscow and to St. Petersburg. And then before that, a whole group went to Jerusalem. But I did not go to Moscow and St. Petersburg, and I did not go to Jerusalem.
Well, neither did I. But maybe one day I will. I would love to. I don't know why, but the older I get, the more I want to visit Jerusalem.
Yes.
Is it,
Well,
is it safe
what's in.
for a tourist?
I don't think any place is safe. Dallas is not safe. Moscow's not safe. Mark is right outside the Great Lakes. He just went through like a tornado power outage. There were shootings down in Mexico. People are throwing kids back into the Rio Grande, and I mean, I know that in Jerusalem that there is a tomb that is supposedly a tomb that when in the story where they put Jesus in the tomb and then they covered it with a rock and then they opened the rock and he was gone, and that's the ascension. So this special place in Jerusalem, well, of course, there's the Wailing Wall, which is, very dear to the Jewish people. And then, there are also Muslims that are in Jerusalem. And then there are various kinds of Christians. So this little area, it's called Dome of the Rock, I think. It is a place where, well, a lot of these religions didn't get along. And so I think this little area is surrounded by soldiers. And at certain times of the day, the Jewish people can go in there and like hang out. And at other times of the day, Christians can come in. And other times of the day, I think that the Holy Land has always been a place of battle. Like the Crusades were about getting back the Holy Land, and the Jews in Palestine and all that, and the wars in Afghanistan. Like the whole area has, in my opinion, has always been a war zone.
Also, it's not only a war zone, it's very interesting if you're into history as well. And whether you're Jewish or not, I think it's important to go and visit there as long as you have the chance.
Yes.
And you're being American, I know you value like good places to eat. So if you visit, you probably find lots of recommendation or a list of restaurants and affordable places to eat, right? Because I heard that Mediterranean food is great.
Yeah, it's great because the olives are grown in the sun and the tomatoes are grown in the sun. The olive oil is pressed. And when people ask me, well, what can I cook? Like Turkish and Italian and all that is along the Mediterranean, area. So I learned to cook that growing up. My mother cooked it. And my daughters can cook it. Yeah. I like to eat. Yeah, I do like to eat.
And not only
There's
you, I was making a comparison because I don't know what is really food culture. I think it's very similar to what you have in Greece or in Turkey. I might be
yes, it
mistaken
is.
here.
Well, there's a lot of words that are they're the same, like, I don't know, like pide and yufka and pishmani and a lot of these. I don't know. A lot of these words have some of the same roots.
Yeah.
There's a poem. There's a poem that I'm looking for. I love this. Oh my goodness! Train Mark has now responded to me. He has responded. It looks really good, even if it's burned. So that means that he is awake. He is alive. I'm so happy. Well, I just wanted to refer to this poem. Go ahead.
No, I was
Go
gonna
ahead.
say that your mistake. I mean, it wasn't material, so you can relax now and just enjoy.
Okay, I'm now relaxing.
You have an anxiety because you just had an anxiety because you sent a message to Mark. You weren't supposed
I
to get it
did.
now.
My heart was
That's
jumping because he's responded. He's told me he has very limited phone capabilities and there's no power for days, and he's using like a percentage of his power to tell me that he likes this picture that I sent I sent by mistake. But okay, back to William Blake. Blake has a poem that I love. William Blake is an English poet, 1757 to 1827. And his poems are universally known. I hope you know about them. They're about slavery, racism, poverty, corruption, mysticism. He has a poem called Jerusalem. It's one of them. If I ever go to London, because I want to go back to London and walk around London without the people that I was with the last time I was there. I would love to go to London. Okay, so this poem, Jerusalem, is the most fabulous poem. It's one of my favorite poems. It's like so transcendent. It ends with, bring me my bow of burning gold, bring me my arrows of desire, bring me my spear, O clouds unfold, bring me my chariot of fire. So the song Chariots of Fire and the movie and the film took the title line from Blake's poem Jerusalem. It's like the most amazing poem. I am like really excited. Are you excited?
Arrows of desire.
Isn't
I
that
like how
great,
he
man?
put the words, arrows of desire.
Well, I wrote a poem. I think I wrote it with you, and it's about the moths of desire. Somebody left to go. Something about a Ferris wheel and the
Wasn't
moths.
that about the Garden of Knives? No,
Knives?
Garden of
And
Knives.
were there not lies? Lies or
Garden of Knives, and also
garden of
lies. The Forest of Lies. I
the,
don't remember.
the forest of Gump. Now back to Jerusalem. Jerusalem.
Nice
I advise.
sequence.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back and look at that poem. It's a really good poem. Well, this Aleppo pine or the Jerusalem pine is quite an evocative image, and it does sound nice. Jerusalem
Now,
pine.
can we go back a little bit? Because what exactly is the play supposed to be saying? The poem you just read.
Like that question is, it's like asking, what is that book Anna Karenina about? It's like one of the core poems of William Blake, who wrote the Songs of Innocence, the Songs of Experience. He wrote.
What year was that? Can you tell me what year? I don't want to sound like a douchebag, but please, just what year?
But you are. So his time range. He was born 1757 through 1827. So So
Oh, that
he's
was 300 years ago. Okay.
but it was
That
just
explains
like
it.
yesterday to me. It's during the beginning of the Industrial Revolution and the turn away from agricultural society into industrial society, and he's also little children were used as chimney sweepers, and like prostitution was like rampant, and the hypocrisy of the church. I mean, he was just such a brilliant person. He was also an engraver. He was also a mystic. I really like William Blake as much as Eric Clapton, but Eric Clapton was cuter, and so was Chekhov. Okay, what is the poem about? What is the poem about? What do you think it's about? The title of it is Jerusalem. No, what would you know? When you read the
No,
title of a
I
poem,
think there are a lot of some sort of references in that the
yeah, there's
rituals
hundreds
and
of them.
yeah.
Okay, so when you read the title of a poem, everybody comes and looks at the title and they already have some ideas in their mind. So they come to the poem. And Blake is asking about the Lamb of God who would be Jesus. And it has these lines in it. And did those feet in ancient time walk upon England's mountain green? And was the holy Lamb of God on England's pleasant pastures seen? And did the countenance divine shine forth upon our clouded hills? And was Jerusalem builded here among these dark satanic mills? Bring me my bow of desire, bring me my bow of burning gold. Bring me my arrows of desire. Bring me my spear, O clouds unfold. Bring me my chariot of fire. I will not cease from mental fight, nor my sword sleep in my hand, till we have built Jerusalem in England's green and pleasant land. That's a fabulous poem.
Yeah, there's lots of England in it.
Well, he was English, and he was looking at the corruption of power, of people abusing women, of people abusing children, of people abusing money. And if England, let's pretend like we're English and living at that turn of the century, if we claim to be Christians, how can we treat our fellow man like this? What if Jesus himself came and walked amidst London in those times? Wouldn't he be horrified to see the satanic mills? There's something that you read on your channel of Russian folk tales. It was a story about a country doctor or somebody goes to visit this young girl who is the heiress of this industrial empire. And he goes to visit and he looks out the window, and it's like looking into the fires of hell. There's all this industrial smoke and pollution. Do you remember that story?
Yeah, I do. It was written by Chekhov, who was a doctor as well, and he might be based it on his own experience. I'm not sure, but I didn't really particularly like that story. But I remember that that went exactly like that, like you said.
Well, if we think about, whether we're Christian or Muslim or Jewish or whatever we are, if we claim to be, let's just say, Christian, and we claim to believe in some of the teachings of Jesus, what if I say I'm a Catholic, I'm a Zen Catholic, and what if Jesus came and walked around with me in Dallas and saw the things I did and saw what was going on in Dallas and saw what kind of state Texas was? Would he be horrified? So the closing stanza.
I don't know. It might depend on where you are, because how life is going for you right now. Because life fair or unfair? you see, or subjective experience. I don't know how to put that in words.
Well, you are responsible for your life. Like it is, I
Not always.
enjoy.
Not always.
No, what I'm saying, the choices you make, like it is fun to pontificate and banter around ideas, but the hard work of living, I make choices every day, whether to steal or whether to lie or whether to do things that are unholy. And I make those choices. I am the author of my deeds. But what I liked about this ending of Blake's poem, he says, I will not cease from mental fight, which means I'm not going to stop writing about these very, very serious topics. And nor shall my sword sleep in my hand. Blake's sword is his pen. He is a writer. So he is writing about the things that are of deep concern. He said, I will not cease from mental fight, nor shall my sword sleep in my hand till we have built Jerusalem in England's green and pleasant land. So, England had, beautiful rolling hills and little sheep wandering around and shepherds. And then they started covering it with, industrialization. And to me, it's a very exciting poem because it still speaks today, even though it was written so many years ago.
You've read 2 stanzas. Is there anything else to it, or it's just 2?
1, 2, 3, 4. It starts off, and did those feet in ancient time walk upon England's mountains
was it
green?
4? Okay. So it's a small poem, short.
Yes. And it was first published. It was first published in 1804. So another writer, Hubert Parry, Parry, took Blake's poem and turned it into a hymn, Hymn, to be sung at church. And Blake's poem is part of a larger work that he wrote that's called Milton, a Poem. So Milton is also, so it's like a poem embedded in something larger. And when it was first published, not many people paid much attention to it, but over the years, it has, it has become, better known. And this one guy named Robert Bridges, he's the one who got Gerard Manley Hopkins' poems into print long after Hopkins died. So Hopkins, we read the other day something about the grandeur of God. And so this guy, Robert Bridges, also was busy trying to get Blake's poetry published. So he would be considered an editor and had access to printing presses.
Yeah, well, okay. What should we make of this? It's hard to say.
I really feel like I talk so much. I feel so bad.
No. You speak. No. Don't apologize. What I was going to say that you're American. You read this poem. I'm Russian. I read this poem. But maybe
I'm
this
not
poem's
an American.
supposed to be
I'm a Texan. Go ahead.
Yeah, but still, it influences your view or your take on the words that William Blake put into paper and into writing. I'm trying to understand. If we had Tony Clarence, your British friend, and if he read this poem, would he? What would he think? Would he approach Tony, it the way you and me?
Yeah, Tony. So I consider, of course, we are all rooted in a specific country where we were born, but I didn't live most of my life in the United States. I lived most of my life outside of the United States, and I lived most of my life outside of Texas. But what I'm saying, Tony is also a citizen of the world. Now, I know he's been to many different museums. I know he's kind of been trapped in outside of London, during the pandemic and caring for some of his family members. But Tony is very much an intellectual, very much, he's into art and music and poetry. I think that Tony would find this poem a challenge to people living today, that if we claim a certain membership to a certain society or to certain ideas, then we should try to live them. It's not enough just to go sit in a church and stare at the wall. You have to go out of the church and bring it into the world. So like Tony knows British English, and I know American English and British English, but I know Tony, from what I know of Tony, he would like this poem. He would find it very challenging. Also, Mark Stevens, who studied architecture, would also agree, because he's also, even though he's kind of provincial, he lives in a small town. He reads and he thinks and he wonders, why is the world this way, and why are there so many inequalities, and why is politics so corrupt? So I think if you're kind of a citizen of the world, these concerns are timely.
I love it.
Well,
I love it.
Yeah, we need to get Tony Carnes as our next person to interview, because I would like to ask him, what he thinks. What do you think?
Yeah, that would be great. That would have been great if you could join us.
I think we might need to go to London, and he's never shown me his apartment.
No, you're getting too personal. Because if you go and meeting someone face to face, is a little bit different from having a conversation like long distance call, is it?
Yeah, no, what I mean is, like, I post different pictures of Dallas, of White Rock Lake. I know that he doesn't live exactly in London, but he goes to the Tate. He's studied art history. He does drawings. That's what I'm saying. These are things that many people know about Tony anyhow. And I don't know, it's also interesting to me that 1981, the film Chariots of Fire came out, da 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 da, like music came out for Chariots of Fire. It came out, the lines came from Blake's poem. So the poem was so rich that it inspired so many people.
I've just go on.
I'm thinking my ice cube's melted. I'm gonna take it to water. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that I've just recalled that I've been there 10 years ago. In Moscow, in suburbs of Moscow, we have New Jerusalem Monastery, which is an exact copy of what they have in Jerusalem, like a medieval fortress, I think. Or
really?
Whatever, I don't know. I don't remember really. It's a church. It's a huge Kremlin-like building structure. I was told that it was founded in 7th century to be an exact copy of what they have in Jerusalem. Isn't that cool?
In Moscow? Wow.
2 hours drive, I think, from Moscow.
I think that when we hang up, you should go there. Can you do that?
I hate heavy traffic, honestly. The traffic is awful, except like in the weekend. But in the weekend, I go to my fallout shelter, also known as dacha. So, and the traffic is also awful. But yeah, maybe we should visit it. It's beautiful. I remember it was beautiful, but that was like a long time ago. It looks stunning. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have to look up a little bit of information about that. I know
you should probably type something like New Jerusalem Monastery in Moscow, and you'll see some links maybe leading you to what I've just said. I don't know.
Well, we've really covered, we are covering a lot. We've talked about ice cream and mastic and resin and Aleppo and the tomb and a poem. I just remember that I was on a beach on the Beach, on the Aegean coast of Turkey. And this was many years ago where people people used to have they would have these things called Walkman, where you like walk around. It's not a transistor radio, but some kind of like radio, and it had like a little tape deck player. It had batteries in it. This was like ancient technology. But I remember I was listening to the song Jerusalem as sung by Judy Collins, and it was the sung version of William Blake's poem. And I was just sitting there looking out into the waters of the Aegean, and I literally got chills when I heard it. What is the name of this again? New Jerusalem Monastery?
Yeah, I think it's called, I remember New Jerusalem because it's supposed to be a copy of the old one. So if you Google New Jerusalem, I'm sure you'll find it. Just add some Russia or
It's
monastery.
fabulous. Absolutely beautiful.
Are you seeing
I've got
something?
I'm seeing everything. It's in
Okay, so there is such a place. I didn't.
Yeah, it's
I
in
wasn't dreaming.
It's in the Istrinsky district of Moscow.
Yeah, something like that.
I even have the street address if you want to. It's going to be open till 6. What time is it your time?
2 p.m.
What time is it right now? Okay,
2
you got
p.m.
4 hours.
Yeah, but I'm not
You
going.
got 4 hours.
I was going to, but now I'm not.
It was founded in 1656 by Patriarch Nikon. Do
they have
the patriarch?
Do they say what is his copy of? Am I right when saying that this is a copy of the monastery they have in Jerusalem?
Yes.
I knew it.
Yeah, this is amazing.
Yeah,
it took its name from the concept, and the site was chosen for its resemblance to the Holy Land. The river Istra represents the Jordan. The buildings represent the sacred space, the holy places of Jerusalem. At the time, Patriarch Nikon, or I guess we would say Nikon because it's like Nikon camera, he was recruiting monks of non-religious origin to populate the monastery. It was supposed to represent the multinational orthodoxy of the heavenly Jerusalem. So the idea is that in the Jerusalem of the heavens, like the heavenly Jerusalem, there's going to be people from all around the world. And when this, patriarch died, he had this friend named Shusherin and a bunch of other rich people, and they made a huge library. I love libraries. This is where you're going to work. This is your next job. Remember how you want to be a librarian? No, I'm serious.
Isn't that interesting how we jumped from Jerusalem Point to such many new topics and new things? I didn't know about William Blake poem. You didn't know about New Jerusalem Monastery in Moscow. And now I do, and so do you.
I know, and it's just great. And also, I think Mark wants to come, and so does Tony. We just have to send them tickets. I'm kind of joking, but I'm not. It's really, really interesting. There's a huge library that was, wow, 13,000
No, the point is that you and me, we learn something new every day, right?
We do. Yeah, the Germans in 1947, excuse me, Germans, they ransacked the library. Germans, no, that was so bad.
Only it wasn't 1947, because in 1947 they weren't here already. It was probably
1941. It was 1941.
Yeah, something like that. Mm-hmm.
But then they restored it, and in 1959 it was restored. It is so beautiful. Wow, has a huge.
We learn of new things every day.
Well, that's really great. Yeah, and
oh my God.
In 2009, the president Dmitry, what's his name, signed a decree. Let's restore and renovate the monastery. And everyone said,
I was there before it. I was there before it was restored, so it looked exactly as Germans lived it. Now it's beautiful, but haven't been there for 20 years. I don't know, 15.
Well, at the time they had a federal budget, and this prime minister that was in Putin's cabinet, Viktor Zubkov, thought it was going to cost anywhere between 13 to 20 billion Russian rubles. That's like a
Yeah, but the point is, you build something like the exact copy of what you have in Israel. You build it in Moscow. I mean, it's like you can build it in the US if you want to, but not exactly this monastery. You can choose any other place. Wouldn't that be great? Like exact same copy.
No, they do. They do things like that. For example, in Manhattan, you can get on a bus and go up to the Hudson River. The Metropolitan Museum, the Met, is in, the Guggenheim, the Met. Everything is in downtown Manhattan. But you get on a bus and you go up to the Hudson River, and there is a replica of the Cloisters Museum in France, and the Met owns all of these medieval manuscripts, medieval sculptures, medieval tapestries, like the Lady with the Unicorn. So instead of housing the medieval collection down in Manhattan, they built a replica of the Cloisters it's about a 35-minute bus ride out of Manhattan. I love it. And I took I've been there with the daughter that was learning, the one that became a doctor. She was learning French. And so we went to the Cloisters Museum, and we decided that when we got there, we were only going to speak French. But her French was a little bit limited, and my French was a little bit rusty. But they had, in the interior courtyard, and they had fountains, and they had the famous tapestries. And I know that we had these few phrases we would use, like, we are three people, like, my two daughters and me were eating dinner. We would say, nous sommes trois. We are three. Nous sommes trois. Or, passez-moi le petit pois, which means, please pass me the peas. These are expressions you learn in beginning French class. But we had also learned this expression, passez-moi le pamplemousse, which means, pass me the grapefruit. So I remember I was with my daughter in the Cloisters Museum, and we were sitting in their little cafe, and she said, nous ne sommes pas trois, nous sommes deux, which means we are not three, we are two. And then I said to her, passez-moi le petit pois, which means please pass me the peas. But we weren't even having peas. We were having like croissants and coffee. But, traveling to other places to see museums, you can just learn so much.
While we are on it, you mentioned traveling to other places. I thought of London because it's not replica. I guess they rebuild the Shakespeare's Globe. They call it Globe. It's a theater how it was 500 years ago. They built a new one, and the Globe. I don't know, London's Bankside. I don't remember the address at the bank of the river. I think I've been there once. It's based on original plans of how it was at Shakespeare's time. It looked old.
They have at the University of Texas in Austin, they have an English department which studies world literature. And maybe 30, 40 years ago, somebody endowed or gave money to the university for the express purpose of building a replica of the Globe Theater in another small town so that students could go and study Shakespeare for the summer. And it's called Shakespeare in Winedale. So maybe about 30 or 40 miles outside of Austin is Winedale. And for, at least 40 or 50 years, instead of just taking like when I studied Shakespeare, I took it in a university building in the basement, and I just was studying Shakespeare out of a book. But if you want to apply to study Shakespeare at Winedale, you get college credit and you live there, and you have period costumes that you wear. So instead of getting up and like putting on your blue jeans and your sweatshirt, you're assigned to these little dormitories, and then you put on a play. So maybe one summer the play is The Tempest, and maybe another summer the play is Much Ado About Nothing or Lear. But I think this idea of building replicas, I had forgotten about that. But Shakespeare in Winedale is something that came from somebody thinking, well, this would be a good way to spend my money. Let me just give some money to the University of Texas. But what did you see? Go ahead.
No, I didn't get to see any show in it, or because it's just been built. I was inside, but I wasn't any spectacle. I think that when people make replicas of Shakespeare's Globe all over the world, it's great, especially for the English-speaking community or population, because well, it's great if you're a Shakespeare fan, and it's great even if you're not a Shakespeare fan, because you get to know something new. Like
Yes,
Chekhov. I don't know why. I heard that Chekhov is popular in Japan. Maybe I'm mistaken, but that's what I heard. I have no idea why.
well, because he is anybody who's serious about literature, they'll know Chekhov, they'll know Proust, they'll know Borges, they'll know Shakespeare, they'll know Gabriel Garcia Marquez. So to say, I wonder why Japanese people like Chekhov, well, because Chekhov is also dealing with these universal themes. It'd be like saying, well, I wonder why these people like these waltzes, like these old Russian waltzes. Well, the waltz has been around for how many years? And like, well, you like the waltz, right?
Yeah, I like the music, but I don't dance.
Well, maybe you should.
Does that qualify for loving the world?
No, I think it does, But I think when you're sitting in the dark and drinking and listening to the waltz, perhaps you're dancing in your mind.
When no one's watching. Yeah, absolutely, because I told you I'm alone but not lonely. I have this imaginary friends and a bottle of Lafroig next to me.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It's talking about imaginary friends, I think Mark Stevens is such a talented fellow. He told me a year or two ago about a person that he saw in his dream, and he started drawing this person and doing some digital art. I think her name was Alicia or Alyssa, something like that. But I think, dreams and drinking produce a lot of, they are outlets for a lot of creativity. And also, I think that people know that Tony Carnes likes to drink. He knows that I like to drink. So, probably people
I like to drink.
Japan
Do they know that I like to drink as well?
Yeah.
I want everybody to know that I like to drink.
I think so. Also, David Anton likes to drink,
Why don't you get him on our channel and ask him for a joint interview?
Well, he's leaving.
Kind of
he's leaving today with his dad to go down to Port Aransas because one of his aunts is having a birthday party, and they're all going down to the beach to drink and to run on the beach and to barbecue and to drink beer. So he's not available. And the next weekend he's going to New Braunfels for his grandson Otto's birthday. Otto, isn't that a Texas name? You might wonder, why would a Texan be named Otto?
You tell me.
Well, because that's the Texas Hill Country that was settled by Germans and Poles. And Otto's father is in finance and his mother is in healthcare. And he's this great little kid with like this shocking blonde hair and has the best smile, and he loves to run, and his name is Otto. And do you know what Otto is spelled backwards?
Fourth? No.
Otto. If you spell it backwards,
you want to make me do math?
Otto backwards is Otto.
Okay.
It's okay. I think we might be ready for our medication now.
Okay. So that was a great episode, right? Because it was.
Yeah, and I didn't even know that I had recalled all that stuff about Blake or the Mirage ice cream, and I learned about the New Jerusalem monastery. I mean, I feel like
Oh,
I
you
want to
do
become
now.
I feel like I want to be a subscriber.
Well, you have to like solve the riddle first, and get the invite. Yeah,
That's right. That's right. Well, we thank our subscribers for listening, and some of our new subscribers, Christian and also Ralphie Boy, and I don't know. I heard that Raj might be back. Raj, who goes by something Peters. Raj might be out there. I'm not really sure. Not really sure if Jonas is out there. Tatiana, who lives in the N place in Russia. What's it called? Nazmarogorov. What's it called?
Nizhny Novgorod. I don't know. I don't know Tatiana. We've never known each other, but
No, this.
okay,
What's the name
I
of
think
that? What's the name of that state? It begins and ends like Nizhny.
Nizhny.
Yeah,
It's
like
like Lower Manhattan. It's the equivalent of Lower Manhattan, but it's lower stands for Nizhny, and Novgorod is in Newtown. Does that make any sense? Because that's how it translates.
I'm not really
That's
sure
where
if she's.
Tatiana lives.
I'm not sure if she's subscribing or just dancing around the concept of subscribing. But shout out to.
But let's hope for the best for all of us.
Yes,
and also we invite all English-speaking people to call in and join to our conversations for the better of the humanity.
That's a great closing.
Humanity, I mean us.